Hi, Itai. Hi, Nini. Oh, welcome to the third and final session of Conscious Tel Aviv's program for the Conscious Cities Festival. These past three events, including this one, we've named Agency in the City. It's about how does the city allow you to express yourselves in all sorts of different ways. In the first event, we spoke about personal expression, artistic expression. In the previous session, which was just a couple of hours ago, we spoke about political expression in the city. And in this session, we're speaking about co-creation, coexistence, and connection in the city. And I'm so honored and happy to host the Rana Choir, who they will be introducing themselves in a second. I will just give a couple of comments to those who aren't familiar with Tel Aviv. Most of us know the name Tel Aviv. Not many people from abroad know the name Tel Aviv Jaffa, which is really the official name of the city, and is named after those two cities. Jaffa, which is an old ancient port with a predominantly Arab population, and Tel Aviv, which was the new city, a predominantly Jewish population. And so the story of Rana Choir is something that is perhaps local to Tel Aviv, Jaffa, in terms of bringing together those specific communities. But I think there's something relevant here to everywhere around the world, where communities are living side by side in different neighborhoods and don't interact that much for all sorts of reasons. So without further ado, I'm bringing on Rana Choir. Adva, Pauline, and Mika are going to be with us. Here we have Adva and Pauline and Mika. Thank you for joining us. I will let you take it from here and introduce yourselves. Just want to say that we're all excited to have you here. Everyone watching on YouTube or any of our other social platforms, remember we're going to be recording this session, putting it up on our YouTube for everyone to watch. And thank you for joining in from all around the world. And Adva.
Hi. Mika, I think you can take it away.
Okay, yeah. So good evening, everybody. My name is Mika Dani, and I'm the founder, conductor, and musical director of the Arab Jewish Women's Choir, Rana. Pauline?
Hello, good evening. My name is Pauline Ode, and I am with the choir since the beginning, and I am a French teacher. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, where is Badria?
היא כתבה תאשרו אותי, אני לא...
Okay, I think I've got it now. Badria, you're with us?
כן, היי, אני איתכם. אני פותחת גם את הוידאו, שלום. היי. אנה בדריה, אני בחרתי לי לדבר בערבית. I will speak in Arabic and Pauline will translate. אפשר גם בעברית, הכל בסדר. أنا بدرية معلمة بمدرسة ثنائية اللغة إم لأربع أطفال أولاد معلمة مدرسة.
So her name is Badriye Hattab. She is a teacher also in a school B language with double languages, Hebrew and Arabic. And she is a mother to 4 children.
Okay. רקפת?
אני לא יודעת אם רקפת איתנו.
הנה אני איתכם, אני כל הזמן איתכם. Technical problems, all this technology, I'm here.
Thank you for joining.
Also see me. So my name is Rakefet. I also live in Yafo. I am in the choir since the beginning. I work with disadvantaged people of community, used to be young women, now younger children. And I love singing. I have 3 grown-up kids. That's it, I guess. And I'm happy to be here.
Great, good to have you.
Adva?
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. I too am excited to be here. My name is Adva Weinstein. I am the choir's producer and administrator, and I'm brand new. I'm the baby of the group. I've been here going on 2 years just now. And yeah, I won't participate much. I'll let the women who do this astounding work speak, but I might help translate and administer some stuff as we go along.
Okay, so I suggest that we start with some music, and I think maybe we would like to show you a clip of a song which is a combination of a Palestinian love song called Asham, which means to Sham. Sham is the region of Syria and Lebanon, and it combined with verses from the Song of Songs. Okay, thank you very much, Itai. I'm sorry for, this is the Zoom, the technical problems of the Zoom. The sound was pretty good, the picture a little less, but that's the best we can do. And unfortunately, we can't sing, all of us here on Zoom, because as you probably know, it's impossible to sing together on Zoom. There is a synchronization problem. Anyway, everyone whoever sang in a choir knows that the most basic and essential rule for singing in a choir is listening. You must always listen to the person that's standing on your right and on your left, and to synchronize with him in melody, in rhythm, in harmony. And so listening is a very good starting point for a dialogue. And also, when I hear the person next to me sing, I don't only hear her voice, but I also hear her express what is in her soul at this particular moment. which is a very intimate and unmediated kind of acquaintance. When I moved to Jaffa 17 years ago with my family, and as Itai mentioned before, maybe, I don't remember if he said it, but Jaffa is one of the few mixed cities in Israel. When we say mixed, we mean where you have Jews, Arab, Muslim, and Christian people living. I was surprised to discover how little interaction there was between the different communities. And after many years of a lot of frustration from the political and social situation in Israel, I felt that maybe I had an opportunity to do something that might make even a small change in society, using my skills as a musician, knowing the power of people to get people together. And for all the reasons that I just mentioned above. And I thought that was after years of all sorts of semi-political activities I was involved in and didn't feel it made any difference. And I thought that might be something a little more useful. So I decided to create an Arab Jewish choir, and more specifically a women's choir, because first of all, I thought it would be an opportunity to give space to women voices, which unfortunately are not heard enough all over the world, but particularly in our region. And also because I strongly believe in the power of women to foster change, both inside and outside their family units. So an Arab Jewish women's choir was the idea. And at January 2008, after a process of locating, recruiting, auditioning, we hit the road with 20 Muslim, Christian, and Jewish women, making sure we had an equal number of Arabs and Jews. We started at an Arab Jewish community center in Jaffa, where we worked for 8 years. And in 2016, together with my colleague, who is also the accompanist and the artistic director of the choir, Idan Toledano, we left the community center and became an independent choir, which practically means a lot of freedom, but no funding. So since then, the choir relies on modest revenues from performances and irregular support from philanthropic support from foundations and individuals. And of course, it's a constant struggle to survive. But in January 2008, we all started a journey, a fascinating journey that I would describe as a story that begins with a random group of women in ages ranging from 30 to then almost 70. Now we just 4 weeks ago celebrated together the 80th birthday of one of our eldest singer. And women who come from different backgrounds, different religions, different political opinions, who treat each other very politely and with some suspicion too. A group that became a choir that performed on very distinguished stages all over Israel and abroad. And a choir that all its members for a few years now define it as their second family with all that implies it, that celebrates together happy events, supports in difficult moments, and lives together through challenging events that Israeli reality brings upon us. And during these years, we also collaborated with many wonderful artists, such as Achinoam Nini, whom you might know better by the name of Noah, and Gil Dor, her accompanist, Mira Awad, Peter Yarrow from Peter, Paul and Mary, Bobby McFerrin, the Israeli Andalusian Orchestra, and many other Israeli wonderful musicians and singers, both Arabs and Jews, 2 years ago, after a successful crowdfunding campaign, we released our first independent album, which whoever is interested might find on all the digital platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, etc. And the choir meets regularly once a week for rehearsals, sometimes when it's required even more. The musical work is at high professional level, and each rehearsal includes voice work and learning new repertoire, which is something, I mean, through the songs, we also got to learn a lot about each other's culture. And now maybe, Pauline, maybe you would like to elaborate a little bit about the repertoire.
Yes, thank you, Mika. Good evening again, all of you. Thank you for having us. Well, our repertoire consists mainly on folk songs from the region cultures in Arabic, in Hebrew, in Ladino, in Farsi, in Turkish, and in Greek, and more other languages. We sing in musical styles that we didn't grow up in our homes. And we discover, by this way, we discover new cultural worlds. We also have songs that are combinations that Mika made between Arabic and Hebrew songs. One of them is Asham, the one that you heard in the beginning of the encounter. Or the next song that you will hear, which we will play here only a passage from, which is also a combination of an Iraqi folk love song and a Hebrew love song. Please, Itai, can you play for us a passage from the song Fog el-Nachal?
Of course, it's a song that I love as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. I wanted to add also that when we put this up, the recording on and make it available in public, we're going to add the proper videos in so that you can enjoy it full, you know, in streaming properly and not through Zoom, so you can enjoy it.
And we
all
sing.
the songs. We'll also link to the website of Rana Choir and their profile, so you can follow them.
Thank you, Itai. I want to say also that we sing women's song, which is a genre that exists in all cultures of the world, and that was created when women sat together and washed their laundry or cooked and told each other their troubles their secrets, and everything that could not be told in the presence of men. Some would sing their personal stories in self-invented tunes, and others in familiar folk tunes. We even have a member of the choir, a Moroccan Jewish woman, who remembers herself as a child in Casablanca, standing every Sunday and picking out from the keyhole, because the children, of course, were not allowed to be there, and seeing her mother with her friends, with her neighbors and sisters, preparing couscous and singing to each other, "My husband did this to me, my mother-in-law told me so," etc. The themes of these songs are the soft spot of us all: forbidden or painful love, birth anxiety, difficulties of motherhood, abusive husbands, etc. And this is how the human common denominator of us all unfolds. The next song we will hear is Nishonegoron, which is a women's song of Persia, in which a woman complains about her unfaithful husband. Please, Itai, can you play for us Nishonegoron?
I'm sorry, I think I got mixed up. Which song did you want?
Nishonegoron, please.
Okay, I have it here.
Thank you.
Of course. I'm sharing it right now.
Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Avoye del darde gar kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Mochoy choderi varuvar kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Lebos zarzar shebetan kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Hodaya namiram to nazar bebiram. Michom ziyaram utachos begiram. Hodaya namiram to nazar bebiram. Michom ziyaram utachos begiram. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Avoye del darde gar kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Lebos zarzar shebetan kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Mochoy choderi varuvar kerde. Nishonegoron zemovar kerde. Hodaya namiram to nazar bebiram. Michom ziyaram utachos begiram. Hodaya namiram to nazar bebiram. Michom ziyaram utachos begiram. Ay viva foyor Char zuhoy ke bedel doru.
Wow.
Right.
Thank you, Itai.
So, yeah, we don't do our washing laundry in the rivers anymore, which in some ways is very lucky, but I think it's also a bit sad because we miss this this very natural togetherness of women, which I think was a very strong backbone in communities before. So we don't have these, but luckily for us, we created one. Mika created one for us, and we kind of gathered together 20 women from the same town, but that's basically it, from very different backgrounds, like she said. And on the basis of, since we're not washing laundry, on the basis of singing. So there was, it wasn't like we were gathered to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and we weren't gathered, or we didn't come together because we wanted to talk about it and get to know each other. We came because we love to sing. So there's something very strong to start working from. And that's what we did in the beginning. We sang, we learned to sing, we learned to hear our voices together, and we tiptoed around everything else. We avoided getting into problematic areas. We didn't talk any kind of politics. We learned to sing, and we slowly learned to know each other because we met all the time, and you get to know about the children and exchange recipes, and you meet on a very human, personal level. And that went on for a year or two until our first war started, which was one of those horrible, bloody wars in Gaza. And I must say, amazingly enough, we all showed up for rehearsal, every one of us. Nobody stayed home. And it was very, very obvious that we're not going to sing. I mean, we couldn't sing. But by then we were good enough listeners, I think, or at least started to be. And very carefully we started to talk. As far as I remember, there was no debate. Just each one spoke her heart. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it came from different angles, and people had all sorts of different things to say, but what really came out was a lot of pain. So it was very, very obvious. We're all locked up in this horrible conflict, and we're all suffering. When we, you know, you can judge it whichever way you want, but the pain was so solid in that room that our togetherness stayed together and became even stronger in many ways, even though people did not necessarily agree with each other. And at that same point, Mika introduced us to the Chad Gadya, which you played by mistake, and you'll hear later. I'm not going to get into it, but the basic message of that very well arranged song is, when will this circle of horror end? How long will this horror endure, this hurting and being hurt? And it's not like we all changed our opinions. We still have many opinions in the choir, and this has been a very long process of getting to not be so scared to talk about it and being able to listen to very different opinions and give them space. But one of the, I think it was very obvious, we all agree violence is not working, and none of us want to kill or be killed. So that was easy to agree on. And Mika had this system where whenever an issue comes up that may be an issue, it doesn't have to be political. It could be a wedding song, like a wedding folk song that she brought when one of us was in the process of a divorce, and she said, I can't sing it. This is too sexist. So we didn't sing it. So it just was bye-bye wedding song. Or a more complicated issue of a very anti-war song that was one of our first political songs that we wanted to sing, or Mika wanted us to sing, exactly when one of Our Lady's sons was just drafted into the army, and she couldn't hear it. She not only couldn't sing it, and we waited. This song waited 3 years to be sang until her boy came out of the army. So there's a lot of giving space and understanding each other, whether you agree or not, which we were learning during the years to do. So what I think is the thing of this thing of leaving space is the answer. I mean, the first thing of we're doing something we love, and the second thing is we learn to give space to other opinions, and it doesn't have to be that we're all best friends or anything. It's this togetherness comes from the fact that we give space to each and every one. I think one of the most moving moments in our offstage, in our offstage life was when we were invited to perform on a very, very prestigious stage. It involved a lot of money. It involved a lot of audience. It was really important to us at that point. We were already independent, but it was very, very affiliated to a national Zionistic kind of character. And as usual, Mika brought us for discussion if we are able to do this. And after each one spoke her mind in a much calmer way than 10 years before. I don't think we could have done this 10 years before. One of the ladies who is actually more from the right-wing, definitely right-wing side of the political life in Israel, in her opinion, said, I don't think we can do this concert because the Arab ladies would feel very uncomfortable and may even get in trouble with their communities or families. And we didn't do it. And now, like then, I always have tears when I remember this moment because it showed what a very long way we did and also what a very long way is possible to do. It doesn't mean we all change and hug. It means we understand what it takes to live with each other. And that's the amazing thing which happens in our concerts. What we see is that people come up to us after the concert and say, you made me feel this is possible. Arabs and Jews can actually live together and do things together. You look like you're in a bubble, but it's a real bubble. You're not pretending this is so real. I couldn't tell who is who. People want a sharing. People want to say, I want in. I want that. And I think that's the big thing Mika wanted to do. And I think we are really doing it in our small scale, in our concerts, in our disc. This is what we're saying. It's possible. And this is what it takes. It takes listening, giving space and respect to each other. And it can be done. So, and of course we love it. We enjoy every moment. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm going to keep my questions and the questions of the panel to the end, so we continue with your story.
بدرية.
هاي بس كنت بدي أقول إشي مهم كتير نسيت أقوله بالأول إنه أنا كمان بغني بالجوقة مع أمي وأختي. تفضلي بولين.
I will be translating what Badriya will say in Arabic. And she just want to add that she is singing also in the choir with her mom and another sister of her, of course.
بدي أبدأ وأقول إنه الجوقة كانت لها تأثير كبير علي كعضوة وعلينا إحنا كأعضاء بشكل شخصي، وكمان للبعض كان في صعوبات إنهم كمان طريقة التعامل مع العائلة المقربة والمجتمع إنه يتقبلوا إشي اسمه جوقة.
Badriya is saying that the choir had a remarkable impact on each and one of us personally, and some of us needed to deal with challenges in our immediate families or larger families and even our communities.
وبعض النساء كمان تعرضوا لمصاعب قبل أزواجهم، قبل العائلات، قبل المجتمع، إنه كيف إحنا نشترك هيك بجوقة.
Some of the choir women came up against objections from their partners or family members who were displeased with their joining the choir.
كمان حتى يعني ما كانت أسباب سياسية اللي ما خلتناش إحنا يتقبلوا الحقيقة، وكان لنا كتير صعوبة على المرأة إنه تطلع من البيت بساعات المساء بالليل، توقف على المسرح وتعمل وتقدم حالها عشان نفسها، تعمل تعمل الإشي هذا عشان نفسها.
Their displeasure was sometimes because of the political of a Jewish Arab choir, and sometimes because they found it difficult to accept their women would leave the house one evening a week to do something that was just for herself.
وزيادة عن هيك كمان توقف قبل جمهور وتسافر بريت البلاد وبقلب البلاد وتغني قبل الجمهور، كان كتير صعب يتقبلوا الموضوع.
It was also hard for these families to accept the fact that their women would be performing in front of audiences both here and overseas.
واحيانا كانت توصلنا تعليقات كثير صعبه من المجتمع اللي احنا عايشين فيه. اما كل النساء كانت قويات ولا واحده استسلمت.
These difficult reactions and challenges also came from members of the women larger communities in Yafo, but the women were strong and determined in their dedication.
حتى مرات دفعوا الثمن غالي والإشي كان ونجحوا ولا واحدة رفعت إيديها، نجحوا إنهم يوصلوا للتغيير.
And even if they paid a personal price, they continued to participate in the choir's activity and eventually overcome these objections and also generated change.
والأهم من هيك إنه المعارضين ما كان لهمش أمل يعني إلا يا يتقبلونا واستسلموا، وحتى في منهم صاروا داعمين الجوقة ومتلهفين إنه يشوفوا كل إشي جديد إحنا بنسويه.
In this way, the choir women generated social change both in their own families and in a wider community in Yafo.
وآخر إشي بدي أقوله إنه عن طريق النساء حصل تغيير داخل العائلة المقربة وكمان بمجموعات المحادثة الصغيرة وطبعاً بالمجتمع اليافاوي.
She wanted to add that the participation in the choir made a change in their personal families and also in the acquaintances all around in the community.
شكراً. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shukran, Badria, and thank you also, Pauline, for the translation.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you also, Badria, shukran. And Pauline. You know, in Israel, every year there is a Memorial Day for the soldiers and civilians that were killed in the different wars or terrorist attacks. Since Israel is a very small country, almost everyone here lost somebody to this bleeding conflict. And on this day, there are many memorial ceremonies being held all over the country, and it's a very emotional and sensitive day. And in the past 14 years, there is another kind of an alternative ceremony that is being held. It's an Israeli-Palestinian ceremony that was initiated by two inspiring Israeli-Palestinian organizations. One is Combatant for Peace, and the other is the Israeli-Palestinian Families Circle. And Rana Choir always ends these ceremonies with the song Rakefet mentioned before, the Chad Gadya. This ceremony is a very controversial event in Israeli society. It has many opponents, but at the same time, every year there are more and more people participating. And what started with 150 people in a small French theater in Tel Aviv, last year was a huge event with 10,000 people, live audience, and many thousand others watching on live streaming, both in Israel and abroad. The last ceremony took place this May during the COVID, so it was only on streaming, and there were almost 200,000 people watching all over Israel and abroad. And as we mentioned before, since there are different political opinions in the choir, it wasn't obvious for some of the women to come and sing there. So before the first time we did it, which was 12 years ago, we had, of course, a discussion. And when everybody was prepared to do it, we went and sang there for the first time. And since then, it became a very important event for us every year. And not only all the women come willingly, but I can say that they come with a sense of mission. And I think this is for us another proof or example to the really big change we all went through during our years together. And also it's a very good opportunity for us to express our strong belief in the possibility of shared life and even peace. And the Chad Gadya is a song that is comes from the Jewish Passover ceremony. And it's a story that tells about a lamb that was bitten by a cat, and a cat that was bitten by a dog, and a stick that hit the dog, and all the way to the angel of death. The version we are singing is the version that wrote the Italian singer and songwriter Angelo Branduardi. That was translated into Hebrew by the Israeli singer Chava Alberstein, who also added in the end a verse where she drew a parallel between the circle of violence in the song and the circle of violence in our reality. And of course, asked this question, like Efet mentioned before, till when will this circle of horror endure? We had it translated into Arabic, and I made a special arrangement for the choir in both languages. And we would like to show you just a small part of it, which is also because it's quite a long song. That was filmed during the Israeli-Palestinian Memorial Ceremony in 2016.
געגועים להופעות.
לא, עצוב.
Okay.
So sad.
Yeah. In the past, for many years already, a lot of research has been done about the effect of singing in a choir on our bodies and on our souls. And there are many very interesting discoveries, but the one that always touches me and moves me the most is the discovery that when people sing together in a choir, at a certain point, the rhythm of their heartbeats synchronize. So to end this part of our encounter, before we answer your questions, we would like to show you another clip, which is also a combination of an Arabic and a Hebrew song, this time two lullabies. The Arabic lullaby, Nami Nami, which means sleep, sleep, and the Hebrew lullaby, Numi Numi, which also means sleep, sleep. And you can already hear the similarity in the languages. In both songs, the mother sings to her child, sleep, sleep, my little one. When daddy comes home, he'll bring you a present. And these two songs, we all heard, each one in her language, from our mothers when we were children. And then we later sang it to our children. And I think that the similarity, the combination, and the way they harmonize together expresses fully the message that we would like to convey.
نامي نامي يا صغيري تاني غفا على حصيري نامي نامي يا صغيري تاني غفا على حصيري نامي نامي يا عداتي ذاتي
Amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, I sometimes wish I didn't have a camera in front of me because my eyes were watering. Your stories are really, really inspiring for us in the festival, where we're trying to think of how can our cities bring people together. This is a story that we can really base a lot of future interventions, a lot of future policies, a lot of different thinking about the way that we create our cities and our neighborhoods. So thank you very much to all of you for sharing. I'm just gonna, do you have any kind of final comments before I ask questions? No. Okay, I'm not surprised. Your narrative was very fixed. Thank you for putting that together. It was really came across, your story came across really well, I think. So a question.
Story we love to tell.
Good, we're very happy.
We love to live and we love to tell, yeah.
So I had a question. It's actually kind of the same question as Madeline Hadley, who is in the session. She says, thank you for sharing how the Rana Choir has used music to hold space for coexistence, sharing and understanding. So inspiring and moving. Do you have any advice for people looking to start a group like the choir that links communities who are different sides of political or cultural boundaries?
Okay, I prepare to answer this question, and actually many people asked it. I mean, after performances, many people come to us, approach me and or call me and ask me, say they want to create a similar choir in their neighborhood here in Israel. And it just takes, you have to really believe in it. You have to, it's very hard work, and it's not just music, as you can imagine. It's also social issues and others. And but I think that if you really believe in it, like I did when I started, that would give me the strength. Practically, I mean, a good thing would be to start some kind of community center where they can also use help with spreading the rumor and helping locate people who are interested. Or these days it's easier. When we started, we didn't have all the social media, but it could be on social media as well. And it needs what we had also, the first of all, if it's about two different communities, so having more or less an equal number of people from each community, having the professional team also include people from all the community. I didn't mention here all the other people in our team, but we also started with Shirin Daniel, who is a musician and an Arab singer, and so, and just a lot of devotion and a lot of faith.
Thank you. And how, this is kind of continuation from my curiosity. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I really want to add something. I said it in my, but I think it's really important to find a subject that everybody wants to do. That I think this is so effective because we all wanted to sing. We were aware that we're going to sing Arabs and Jews together. We wanted that as well, but we love to sing, first of all. When you create a group, it has to be around either something they all want. I don't know if it's a community, maybe something they want to do for the community, something to do. If you start from what you do and not from talking about your differences, and then you are close enough to create an environment where everything can come up. Because if not everything can come up, eventually it would fall apart. If you can't put the hardships and the disagreements and the pain on the table, and the things you don't agree about and the things you're angry about, if you can't put them on the table, it won't work. But you can't start by throwing them on the table. So when you do something you want to do together or you love to do, it gives you a base to build all that on it. And I think that's this amazing strength that was, I mean, not everybody can have a choir, but everybody can find a subject that would interest all the groups in their community. And that's a very important thing to hold on.
Right. And how did people find the choir? So say, you know, people want to set up a choir. There must be hundreds of different versions of journeys to this choir. And I'm curious about how people were exposed to it and how did they arrive to it? Where did this shared space or this boundary play a role?
You mean practically how people heard about the initiative?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, how did they
yeah.
hear about it? How did they sign up? How did they become involved? And, you know, the challenges and the benefits as well of it.
Well, in the beginning, we spread the rumor, and the community center helped us with their newsletter or whatever. I used to go, for example, Pauline, I went to the schools in Jaffa at the time of the intermission, and I would go to the teacher's room and present the project and ask whoever is interested to contact me. So that's how Pauline, I met her eating a sandwich during the intermission. And also, I mean, all sorts of this kind of thing, going to places where there were community centers where there were activities for women, and then I mean, we had auditions, of course, very basics at the beginning, but more high level later. And also people, it was like people heard from each other, for example, Badria, as she mentioned before, her sister came first, and then she and her mother joined. And, you know, it was just the rumor spread around, and as Rakefet said, it started as a very, very cautious thing. You know, nobody knew how it was going to work. And but everybody, I think, all the women who came, even those who are right wing, etc., came because they love to sing. But they were also somewhere probably curious to meet some Arab women.
Right. And I have a question about, well, actually, it's a question from Aishwarya Narayana, yeah. I actually know her well. It's funny, I'm mispronouncing it. She's laughing now. So Aishwarya is asking, it's more about the singing itself. Do you think that being good at harmonizing is a determinant of being a good listener, even during social emotional conversations? Based on your experience, do you believe exposing children to the choir training in their early years helps in building empathy in them? So it's a question about what your bravery to do this and your dedication to do this ripples out into families, communities, and so on, and children as well.
Absolutely. I think a choir is a wonderful thing for both for children and for old people, for all ages and all genders, because you really, as I said, and as Rakefet also said, you have to learn to listen, which is we listen much more when we sing than when we talk, and that's a skill that, you know, is very useful. And for all the reasons we just mentioned, it's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful thing, and it really creates, as I said before, very deep and strong bonds, and giving space to each other and listening to each other. What more that can be asked? I mean, that's.
Badria, you want to tell about this? Badria is doing it in her bilingual school.
Yeah, right. But we have to, Adva, would you translate to Badria?
כן, בטח. בדריה, אם את רוצה, I will translate.
תמקדי אותי בשאלה, כשאני אוכל להבין על מה בדיוק.
הם שאלו אם, I'm just translating, for those listening, I'm translating the question. הם שאלו אם היכולת לשיר ביחד, לשיר הרמוניה עם אנשים, זה הופך אותך למאזין, למקשיב טוב, גם בשיחות אישיות, חברתיות, רגשיות, ומהניסיון היא שואלת, האם חשיפה, לחשוף ילדים בגיל צעיר להכשרה בתוך מקהלה או לשירה בתוך מקהלה, יכולה לעזור לפתח אצלהם אמפתיה.
כן, וואו, שאלה מאוד טובה. קודם כל אני רוצה להתחיל בזה ששתי הבנות שלי היו גם במקהלת נערות, שאנחנו גם מאמינות בדרך הזאת, כאשר אני לא יכול להתבטאות חוץ מלשיר, להגיד את הדברים שלי בשירה.
So she's saying, first of all, it's a great question, and she'd like to share that both of her daughters are also in a youth choir. They really believe at home in participation in a choir and being part of a choir, and in the way in which, when I cannot express myself in other ways, I can through song.
ואני רוצה להמשיך ולהגיד, אני כמורה מחנכת, אני חושבת שהדרך דווקא להגדיל את האמפתיה ואת האהבה ואת ההבנה וההקשבה, היא קורית דרך ההקשבה לשירים שהם מדברים על החברה ועל האהבה ועל כל מיני ערכים מסוימים שאנחנו מעבירים אותם דרך השירים.
So she wants to say, as an educator, that she believes that educating values such as understanding and empathy, love, and listening happens through exposure to song. Through songs often deal with these values of social issues, social questions, of relationships and love between people.
ודרך השירה אתה גם אפשר להעביר את זה למשפחות, בלי להתכוון לזה. אז כשכולם מקשיבים בסלון או בבית ספר, וכולם רוצים להגיד את הדברים, אז הם אומרים את המסר בלי להתכוון אליו, אבל הם כן מעבירים אותו דרך הדבר הזה.
And in that way, music is also effective because it has an effect on families or on a larger community without necessarily being literal or without having to spread the message. Well, a family would sit at home and listen to the music, or the children hear songs at school, and these values or these ideas, they're exposed to them through song.
אני כמורה מודל חיקוי מאוד גדול לתלמידים שלי, כאשר הם רואים אותי, שאני מגיעה וכן רוצה לעשות את השינוי הזה, זה גם משפיע עליהם לטובה, וכמובן משפיע על המשפחה שלי עם כל הקשיים שמסביב.
So as an educator, she also understands that she's a role model to the children that she teaches. And when they see that she is dedicated to this choir, that she continues to participate, she goes every week, that she, through her participation, shows her belief in the possibility for change, she understands how that can inspire them and be passed on to them as much as to her family. Despite all the difficulties that it has cost her throughout the years.
משפט אחרון, אני אומרת שהלוואי ורוב המורות יכלו לעשות את אני מרגישה שזאת שליחות, שזה בא, נכון שלא כל אחד יכול לעשות את זה, אלא אם אתה מאמין בדבר, אבל אם כן יצליחו זה עושה פלאים.
So she says, just to conclude, she wants to add that she wishes that may all teachers have the possibility, the opportunity to participate in something like this. She considers it a calling, a mission, and a great honor to be in that position. She knows it's difficult and it's not easy to necessarily be a part of that. But if you believe in it, she really considers it to be a high calling.
Oh, thank you. It's really an inspiration to see how someone can affect a community in such a way, especially in the position that you're in as a teacher, that students look up to you and you're an example to them. And to have an example that is, it's not just the topic of coexistence or singing together with Arabs and Jews. It's also giving the example to be brave. To go after your what you believe in and not necessarily what society is telling you, and I think your students are very lucky for that. I want to first of all wrap up this part of the session, but not leave on this note. I want to ask each of you kind of a follow-up to the question to the answer that was just given about the future of the choir and what you want to achieve through the choir. We heard about how you can influence children at school and help them see that there's a different way. Pauline and Adva, also Kefet and Mika, what do you think? What's your parallel dream and vision to the one we just heard? Kefet.
Pauline wanted to talk. Pauline.
Okay, Pauline.
I will say a phrase. Maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, Mika resembled us and she wanted to ask us a question about, because of the situation of the corona and because of the situation of of the money that we need, and nobody, the donations and everything, and it's not that promising as we can say. She came and asked pump up a question to say, what do you want to do? Do you want to continue to sing. Shall we continue or shall we break it? Because with the situation that we have around, we have to decide what to do. So I want to hear each one of you what you think about. So I looked very strangely at Mika and I told her, are you really talking? Are you really talking, or you are just making a joke? No, she said, no, I would really like to know each one of you, what do you think about the situation, and do we continue together or we break up? I said, no matter what difficulty is, we are in, and we are in big time, and we are not ready. I'm talking about myself. Because I like what I'm doing, and this is a way to express also myself through the songs, through the singing. I think that I'm talking also in the name of all the choir members. There is no way that we can end it, and I'm surprised that you are even asking us, because if we wanted to break it, we could break it a long time ago before we went free and on our own. So I think it was odd for me personally to hear the question. And I think no matter what the difficulty is, I still hope that we can continue, because the way that we are going in is a way and that we can arrive to the purpose that she made for us, and that we believe in this purpose. So I can say to Mika now and to all the audiences that they believe when they do something, so they have to persist and to be, in French we say tenace, we have to take it, we have to stay strong and to continue, we believe, to continue the way, the road that we took a long time ago, and this is the way to succeed and to arrive to our destiny. So we hope that through our songs and through our voices, that we can that we express from all our hearts, so that we can affect all the people around in the whole world, and especially our governments, and that is very important. But it's very sad to say they don't even know that we exist, or even if they know that we exist, they don't give a damn, because each one of them has his own problems, is dealing with something that is more important than run a choir. But we know that over there somewhere there are people that are listening to us, and they believe in our way, and they can support us, and they can give us a hand to move on, and to move on forward, and to succeed to arrive to our destination. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much.
That was well, that was a moment 2 weeks ago. Well, 2-3 weeks ago, we almost killed Mika. Yes, there's no question. There is no question that each and every one of us, this has become a very, very important part of our life. But if you're asking about a vision, yeah, life is crazy right now. I mean, nobody knows what goes on. Of course, we have no concerts, and so we are gladly participating in all sorts of meetings like this, and it's also a way to get to people. We have to change with the world. You ask me, as long as we can stand on our feet and sing together, and as long as Mika can bear with us and all our hardships, I wish we can get to the, as many people as possible. I'm sure we're not going to make the peace contract between anybody to anybody, but as I said before, if somebody gets out of our concert and says, you made me believe this is possible, which I didn't believe before, that is a great change. That's what we are. We're a small women's choir. We're not going to change the world, but we affect people, and that effect is very, very priceless. And like Badria said, we affect our little communities around. If she teaches her students our songs, then they sing them in 2 languages. It's something that moves us forward. It's 20 more kids that will think a little different maybe when they grow up. So that's our vision, you know, we're scratching reality. We're not gonna turn it upside down. That's our powers, but we're trying to scratch wherever we can to scratch this reality and say, look, there's a way, there's a way. It's hard work, but there's a way. And that's it. And of course, whoever
אני
wants to
רוצה רק להתייחס למה שאמרה רקפת, רק משפט אחד, אולי שכחתי אותו, אבל אולי את אמרת אותו, אבל באמת זה מאוד חשוב שהילדים מגיל צעיר, להכניס אותם לכל העניין הזה של לגדול ביחד ולהתחבר ביחד, זה יקל עליהם לאחר כך בחיים. אנחנו כמקהלה, כנשים, כשהתחלנו, היה לנו מאוד קשה להבין מה קורה פה. אבל כאשר הם צומחים ומתחילים באמת, הם משרישים את זה איתם, הם לא יקלעו לבעיות אחר כך, בעיות של קבלת האחר.
So Badria is saying she wanted to add to that she thinks it's really important to expose children to one another and to such activities at a very early age. As adult women, they approach the choir and they struggle. They face certain difficulties because for the first time they're meeting someone who's very different to them. But if children can grow with this familiarity and this shared life, then they learn about one another and about the other, and they grow up together, and that can really change things much more effectively.
ויהיה פחות גזענות כמובן.
And of course that,
Less
would lead to a lot less racism and prejudice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have much to add. I think they all said pretty much everything. The vision is to continue growing our audience, to expose, to send our message to as many people as possible. And as Rakefet said, we're not going to bring peace to the Middle East, but we'll maybe plant a seed. And that's the best we can do. And we all know that we're doing it because, I mean, we feel it after every performance.
Right, thank you. Rakefet, I want to say you're not just scratching the surface. I think all of you are doing something that ripples out into the children around you, into the communities around you, and creating change in a much more genuine and sustainable way than any top-down initiative could. And for that, I want to say that your story is an inspiration to me, to the audience. I can see the responses, and also we hope that an inspiration to everyone who views this session in the future on our channels. So I want to say a really, really big thank you to all of you, to Mika, Badira, Rakefet, Pauline, and Adva. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.